another look through the papers. With us this morning to do just that, Sunday Mirror's political editor Nigel Nelson and author and broadcaster Emma Wolf. Nigel and Emma, hello to you both. You look like you're almost sitting in the same house. That's what struck me looking at that. Okay, Nigel, let's start with you. This is a really, really interesting article. It's in the Sunday Times and it's about sperm donation.
Yes, that's right, and it features a father of 112 children with 14 away, who described himself as the world's most prolific sperm donor. Now, according to the article, he's not, because there are people there with up to 800 children that they fathered. But anyway, what he doesn't say when he's advertising his services on Facebook is that he's a racist promoting total Aryanism and belongs to a group which posts swastikas on its social media. Now, the problem seems to be that while fertility clinics are pretty well regulated, so the screening process means that only 1 in 10 men are actually accepted for it, if you go in for private donations, this is not covered by any regulations. And of course, this adds to the danger that women might contract diseases or even be attacked. And obviously, there's a loophole that really does need to be closed.
Emma, I don't know what you think about this, because it is such an interesting topic, and so many people are going through this, far more than we even know. But when you do find a sperm bank that you get on with, shall we say, it's heavily regulated within the company, isn't it? In terms of the disease, in terms of the screening of the actual individual, their personality. You were talking about that, Nigel. Do you think more people need to be aware of it? Because the problem is, isn't it, it's so expensive.
It's very expensive. I have quite a lot of friends in their 30s and 40s, female friends, who've actually gone down the route of finding a private donor, who have literally just become pregnant on their own in that way. So I think, as Nigel says, of course, with clinics and with, recognised institutions, things are highly regulated. The genetics, everything is screened. It's absolutely, everything is above board. But when you go down the route of having private donors, people advertising their services on social media and things like that, I think it's extremely frightening that people are not being properly screened, that they can be expressing all sorts of, horrendous views. And of course, I'm a single mother. I do understand the desire, the absolute overwhelming desire of these women to have a baby. It's almost beyond words, actually, Kimberly, to describe that to anyone.
No, I also know a lot of people are going through it, and it is. I don't think you can actually understand it unless you've been through it. But can I just ask, why do they go to these private donors?
Because what they need is they need sperm, and it's a horrible thing. And there's been horrible jokes about women being sperm bandits and all of that stuff. And actually, when you're in your 30s or 40s and it's your last chance, and that's all you need, you could be an amazing mother, you could be financially stable, you could be emotionally in a good place to be a great parent, but you may just need a man, as it were, that you don't have a relationship, or things are not working out. And these women are in a desperate position, and so they're very vulnerable. They're sort of preyed on almost. And so I think this really needs to be looked at. This really needs some kind of regulation.
Yeah, it's in the Sunday Times if you want to have a look at that article. Really interesting. And Emma, we'll stay with you because this is a story that's in the last week or so, a lot of people have been talking about how much bosses at water firms earn. Quite staggering.
Yeah. It is staggering. In fact, Kimberly, it's not just water. Last week it was the energy fat cats meeting with the Prime Minister and the Chancellor and coming away with pretty much zero plan for the energy price rises. And this week it's in the Mail on Sunday, £3 billion bonanza for water fat cats. And it emerges that the biggest water firms have been dishing out huge dividends to their investors. Some of this money actually going overseas. They mentioned China there. And as the country is sliding towards its worst drought since 1976, some are saying the worst drought since 1935. So we have leaks, we have sewage pollution, we have hosepipe bans, we have everything going wrong with our water infrastructure in this country. Meanwhile, the Environment Agency are saying that, if we don't get a grip of this situation, we could be facing these kind of water shortages every year for the next 25 years. And so this comes in the context of that, and £3 billion being paid out which should be basically reinvested in our creaking infrastructure, in our water supply, and we need new reservoirs. We have no reservoirs in this country. Not a single public water supply reservoir has been built in this country since 1991, which I find astonishing. Local opposition to reservoirs is just off the scale.
It's interesting. We did have Greenpeace on just now, and they said that isn't the answer. But this issue of the infrastructure, Nigel, what do you think? The figure that keeps coming up is between 2.5 and 3 billion litres of water a year leaking out of the infrastructure, out of this network. And then they say they're addressing it, the water companies, and they have targets and everything, but they say it's so expensive that we just can't do it all.
No, I know, but I think Emma's right, that if they're handing out £3 billion worth of dividends, there's money there that they could actually use for controlling the leaks. I mean, quite clearly, when it comes to the bosses of the water firms, this is not performance-related pay, because their performance has been abysmal. And it's only when we actually face a crisis like we do now that all this comes to the fore. But once again, we ought to be getting a grip on the bosses and saying, come on, you lot, you actually have to deal with the problems in your own backyard before handing out masses of money in dividends or in pay for fat cats.
Okay, let's talk politics. The Mail on Sunday, Nigel, stay with you. What has Jacob Rees-Mogg been saying about Harriet Harman?
Well, Jacob says that she shouldn't be leading the Privileges Committee inquiry into whether Boris Johnson misled Parliament. The supporters of Boris Johnson have been trying to do everything to get this inquiry stopped, which seems to me completely wrong. It'd be rather like saying, oh, well, if a burglar robbed your house, that the police wouldn't prosecute on the basis that he just lost his job as a result of it. So the idea that Harriet Harman would not conduct the investigation diligently and fairly is both laughable and ridiculous. I mean, she's the mother of the house, so therefore one of the most experienced MPs there. Parliament polices itself because it's sovereign, so it's quite right this inquiry went ahead. And even though she's made comments about what Boris Johnson has done, what is quite clear is that that it wasn't true that there was no parties in number 10, as he said. It wasn't true that no rules were broken. So that much is established. What Harriet Harman and the committee must do now is decide whether he misled Parliament intentionally, and that then becomes a contempt.
Okay, Emma, a story that you've picked out. Let's talk about this. It's basically all about Salman Rushdie, the fact that he was attacked before he gave a lecture in upstate New York. J.K. Rowling has also been affected. What is this about, a tweet?
Well, yeah, this is a chilling sort of development in this horrible, this shocking story that came out on Friday. As soon as the attack happened on Friday on Salman Rushdie, J.K. Rowling tweeted, feeling very sick right now. And I think we're all aware of her sort of controversial status as a world famous author for very different reasons to Salman Rushdie. She's clearly very vulnerable. Anyway, she's now had this political activist from Pakistan, allegedly, who I'm not going to name because I don't think he needs any publicity, basically said to her, replied on Twitter, "Don't worry, you're next." And J.K. Rowling is an author who has lived with horrible death threats for her views, controversial views. She's spoken out about trans issues and things like that, which areas one should basically clearly never wade into in the current cesspit of public discussion. And the astonishing thing is that Twitter didn't remove this tweet for up to 13 hours. They have now deleted his account. But J.K. Rowling had to ask for the tweet to be removed. Meanwhile, Salman Rushdie remains on a ventilator with all sorts of health complications, and we just wait and hope and pray that he's going to be okay.
Yeah, I think he's off the ventilator and able to talk now. I think that's the latest. So that's at least some good news to take from the story. Okay, I want to talk about French chefs, Nigel. This sounds exciting. Tell us about French chefs. What is this, the Express?
This is Jean Krastof, who sounds a bit like the saddest chef in Britain. according to the story.
With no good reason, by the way.
Well, what he says is that he absolutely hates his French accent. He comes from northern France. And there was me always thinking that women absolutely loved French accents. And to top that, he said his first girlfriend dumped him when he told her he was going to be a chef. That she said she wanted a real man with a real job. So I'm a bit surprised he's actually made it as far as he has so far.
He's 61, isn't he? And he's got a couple of kids. So he's not doing too bad for himself. Emma, what about you? Do you think a French accent is... does it kill l'amour, as he says?
So I think accents are funny things. I think that we all hate our own accent, but you go to America and they love an English accent. They think that we speak so beautifully. And I have a very good friend who's who's Spanish, and she hates her accent, and I think she sounds absolutely gorgeous. So, accents are funny things. I think what does kill l'amour is the chef's kind of working hours. Someone who goes out to work in the afternoon and comes back thinking of goodness knows what, fat, chick fat at 3 a.m. That's probably the passion killer.
Okay, well, we are going to leave it there. Nigel and Emma, thank you so much. Goodbye from me and my bland accent.